We were in Cuba of January 2007, and he wasn't eating very well. We'd been at a hockey tournament prior to our trip, and he got this cold. And then when we got to Cuba, I got the cold, so I thought that I'd caught his, and so we kind of thought we were passing it back and forth. But then also in Cuba, you're in bathing suits, and noticed that he started having like big bruises on his torso, on his back, and he was white as a ghost.
His energy level was reduced, lethargic. It's just his body in general, his look, he looks sickly. And you've seen your child sick before with a cold or whatever, and it just wasn't the same.
We came home about 3 days after Cuba, and we went to play hockey. And then he couldn't even do a shift. He'd go out to try to skate, and he was winded. And then we went to a restaurant after, and he was crying. He said he had pain in his stomach.
He ended up taking him to the doctor to get him checked out, and they had concern about his well-being.
And then they called us from the doctor's office and said, you need to bring him right away. And of course I'm thinking, well, so what is it?
We know we're going to get some sort of news, and you hope it's not bad news, and that it's something that's you can deal with, and the shock of what they tell you is overwhelming.
Dawson was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which was obviously utter devastation for our family.
It was quite a shock. It's just something you don't expect to ever hear.
It is what it is. We can't control it. We need to face this head on. The only thing we have control of is the way that we deal with it and our attitude.
He would get daily treatments of the chemotherapy, and he was getting blood tests daily to see, how his blood's reacting. He had to have spinal taps where he had injections of chemo into his spinal fluids. It's hard on the body. A lot of kids will get sick. Shannon found it very difficult to watch that process, which is fine by me. I'm the father, the dad, and I'll suck it up and I'll do what I got to do to be there for my family and my son.
They said I was like the most energetic kid in the whole place because I'd reel around in my wheelchair going crazy. I was about 9 years old, so I didn't really know what to feel. I thought I was off school, so I was kind of like, whoo. And then I saw my parents crying. I'm like, what's wrong? And now I realize the extent how bad it really was.
Living in a small community, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows your kids. So when Dawson got sick, it was a very big deal. The school was amazing. They had a big function. They called it Dawson's Dream.
The whole school was just involved in it. Everyone shaved their head, and they put my hockey number in the back of their hair.
And we were in the hospital. People were bringing food, in the hockey community as well. It's been just amazing.
Unfortunately, there was another issue that arose.
2 years into his cancer treatment, he was subsequently diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. They really didn't know what to do with him at the time, given that they'd never had a pediatric oncology patient also be diagnosed with another life-threatening illness.
We thought that he was training really hard for hockey. He's always been passionate about his hockey and his training, and he was training more and more and more, and we just noticed very subtly that he was reducing his food intake.
Well, when Dawson was almost done his cancer treatment and he got his anorexia, it's just like, oh, here we go again. We just did so good, and then now all of a sudden so bad.
That was almost harder than the cancer, to be honest, because we weren't done the cancer. It was also altering of his personality. That was devastating.
And he was just like a completely different person. He would flip out on me sometimes, and like you could see like his wrists, you could almost see his bones. Like it was getting really bad.
At one point, you don't know if you're going to get your child back, because for 2 months, while he was hospitalized for that, there was no progress.
The people at the London Hospital and the eating disorder clinic were phenomenal. The type of family-based treatment that they had there just worked so well for us.
So my experience in the hospital was great because of them. They made it good.
Dawson was a trooper throughout the whole process. It's one of those things where his passion about hockey was his link to getting better.
Because I just wanted to play hockey, and I wasn't allowed to play hockey if I continued with this eating disorder. So that's what made me driven enough to get rid of it.
He was hospitalized for 3 months and subsequently healed from that. He finished his last chemo treatment in April of 2010. So we've been off treatment for 2 years, and he's never ever relapsed from his eating disorder, which is a total blessing. And he's been completely cancer-free. You wait for that day like that's your goal, right? No more chemo, no more chemo. But as you're getting closer, there's a lot of things going on emotionally. You're still worrying every time you're going for your blood work. Is the blood work going to be good? You never know every time you go. Is this more bad news? One wrong blood test and you're back in the game, right?
He's pretty much now in the stage where he's going to be going about once a year to the London Hospital, and that's probably for the rest of his life.
One thing we really learned to do is live in gratitude and realize that everything is fragile. And I really hope that this journey enriches them as opposed to takes away from them. So I really just hope he can champion, for lack of a better word, through his life and model, hey, doesn't matter what life throws at you, it's what you do about it. They're my heart and soul. I love my boys. It's my heart and soul. It's who I am, it's what our life is, and I really don't want to take any of it for granted, right? You gotta live every day and enjoy them. And that's what we're trying to do.
Dawson Malelepsy, the 2012 Champion Child, presented by Walmart.